Hello everyone, you're watching the Belt and Road Face to Face with me, Zoon Khan.
I don't think CPEC is any problem in the debt trap.
This is a problem on the way of development.
Anti-American.
This is for the development of Pakistan.
Hello everyone, you're watching the Belt and Road Face to Face with me, Zoon Khan. Our program is co-produced by China Economic Net and Vash News Television. Today, I'm pleased to be joined in our studio by Amanullah Khan, Managing Director at Global Care, and Cheng Shizhong, former Deputy Defense Attaché for the Chinese Embassy in Pakistan and Senior Fellow at the Chahar Institute. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's enter the first part of our program, Hotspot. Lately, Pakistan officially proposed to IMF for an emergency loan to cope with economic hardship. There are some doubts about the relation between Pakistani economic difficulties and debts from CPEC. They say CPEC created the so-called debt trap. Lu Kang, spokesperson of the Foreign Affairs of China, responded that based on the debt composition published by the Pakistani government, debts from CPEC occupy a rather low share. So it is not the reason for the Pakistani economic difficulties. So, Mr. Aman, let me come to you first. Whether or not CPEC caused this debt trap, whether or not other causes are responsible, what is the economic situation of Pakistan right now?
Pakistan economy is passing a difficult phase, Exports are all-time low, imports are increasing, and the trade gap is like $18 billion. And the new government is in just 50-60 days, and, it's difficult for them to get loans and to finance, to run the business. So it's a difficult situation. And as far as you asked for the CPEC, I don't think, because, in CPEC there are two segments. If we talk about $50 billion package, so $35 billion is for the power projects, and government-to-government loan is like $15 billion. And once the project is complete, the loan starts after 2 years or 3 years. So I don't think CPEC is any problem in the debt trap.
Okay. So, Mr. Chen, what is the Chinese perception? And especially, I'm interested in knowing why this perception of CPEC being responsible exists.
Now Pakistan is facing some problems. And because we have very special relations, we are all weather brothers. So the Chinese government, the Chinese people, and me myself as an old friend of Pakistan, we are closely following the situation. And we try to do our best, and we help Pakistan within our capability. So first of all, I should point out that the present problem is financial problem, is foreign currency reserve problem, and it's not economic problem. Second is, in my impression, Pakistan faced this kind of problems in the past for many times, and every time Pakistan overcame the difficulties. So third point is that I firmly believe under the leadership of Prime Minister Imran Khan, Pakistan this time can overcome the difficulties, because this is temporary problem. This is a problem on the way of development. About China-Pakistan economic corridor,
Yeah.
Because we have offered projects loan. This is different loan. This is different from other loans.
Okay.
This is project, and the China-Pakistan economic corridor was a joint project, and the loan arrangement was discussed fully by the two sides.
Between the Planning Commission and the NDRs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the more important is that now this is for the development of Pakistan. We help Pakistan to strengthen the ability of self-reliance. And so this is different from other loans from other sources.
So, Mr. Aman, how do you see this? What is the relation actually?
This is created, this is, it's anti-American, America is always, doesn't like China-Pakistan economic corridor, and he's against this Belt and Road Initiative, which is taken by
They have
the Chinese.
already made it very clear that they oppose the initiative.
Yeah, so, and they are creating hurdles, and this perception is, from their side, just after Prime Minister, even I think he has not taken oath, Mr. Pompeo said, we are looking if they are going for the IMF, so we will see if they are taking American money to repay the Chinese bondholders or the Chinese commercial loans. So, this is not the case. Actually, once, the CPEC projects come into being, it's a win-win position for both the countries, as I said before. Like industrial zones, new industries coming, and Pakistan is obviously getting the fee for utilization of the port. And, the main purpose is to build a oil city, and recently, Saudi Arabia has taken interest.
Proposed.
They want to build some oil refinery, and Pakistani Prime Minister said, we don't want one refinery, in fact, we want 2 refineries. So I think once all these things come up, so I think there will be a win-win position for Pakistan and China.
Yeah. So, Mr. Man, you're saying that actually we're moving in the right direction. It just needs time.
Of course.
The Chinese loan is about only 1/5.
Exactly. So that's the interesting part, where you mentioned that actually the Chinese loan is a very small percentage. Then why would the United States make this tall claim?
They don't want to see the success of our corridor.
Why?
They don't want to see our good relations.
Yeah.
Because our target is to strengthen your ability, your position. They don't want to see a strong Pakistan. Keep Pakistan in a weak position, they can easily control Pakistan.
You have been the defense attaché in India as well as Pakistan, the Chinese embassies. So what is your strategic perspective on this?
Strategic perspective is that Pakistan has to get self-reliant. You have to get, stand up, have a strong position. And so CPEC construction is for that purpose.
So, Mr. Aman, we see that since CPEC has been initiated, even though 1/5 of the current debt trap can be accredited to CPEC, let's just say that. Okay. Then, is it normal for Pakistan to be in this situation? I mean, how do you give an objective analysis on where we stand today?
I think so, because this is nothing abnormal, because we have taken loan in the past years just for, to repay the loans. And this loan is going to pay back, once we develop our port and infrastructure, and a lot of foreign investment, direct investment will come. So I don't think repayment will be any issue. Let me put it like this. Yeah. In 2013, that was a difficult time for Pakistan, and China took this initiative to invest huge, like $50 billion. We were facing a power shortage, and they started with building powerhouses to run our industry and to overcome this power shortage. So you can see we are struggling to get $5, $6, $7 billion, and China, without any hassle, they invested like $50 billion, $60 billion. So I think it's a good relationship between Pakistan and China. That's why China trusts Pakistan, and it's, as I said, it's a win-win position for both the countries.
So, Mr. Chen, let's come back to, there's a perspective actually in the international community. For example, the China-Africa cooperation. Some critics say that African countries are taking more and more loans for infrastructure projects from China without thinking about their ability. How much can they actually make to pay those loans back? They're just competing right now to take and absorb, So how do you think, is CPEC compatible with Pakistan's ability to utilize the investment?
Actually, no, as I said, when we have a project, we have a commercial loan from bank, then we do the project. When the project is completed, then it will produce. Then little by little, the investment will be recovered. So we don't have to get money from other sources to repay for the loan.
It will create a lot of new job opportunities, and as I said, FDI, foreign direct investment will come, a lot of industrialization. So I think Pakistan is easily can repay all these loans, so there will be no problem for Pakistan as far as the CPEC loans are concerned.
As far as CPEC. Yeah. And what about the others?
Obviously, once we start earning, so we will
We
save,
can.
and this new government, they are taking measures to, cut down the expenses and to increase the export, to cut down the imports. So obviously, I can see in 2-3 years there will be a trade surplus. Right now, we are having a trade deficit. In
Yeah.
2-3 years, I can foresee we have a trade surplus.
In 2-3 years, we can say.
Yes.
We already see positive numbers, which we'll discuss in the
Yes.
next segment.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chen, my question for you now will be, how does China feel about this situation? I mean, what can China do at this point, regardless of perceptions and what CPEC's role is, to help Pakistan?
I think we try our best because we have very good relations, and every time we help Pakistan we try to do our best and help Pakistan within our ability. I think the Chinese government has already taken action.
Yeah.
That's a good news.
So, Mr. Chen, Mr. Aman, now it's time for us to go to the Vash News Television and see what they are concerned about.
पाकिस्तान वती जालाद रहो कि मईशत गहबूदिया चे गामगे जे जरूरतें
Mr. Aman.
I think Pakistan is already working on it, and this new government, they are talking like we have to cut down their own expenses to run the bureaucracy, the government. So first step they have taken to cut down the government expenditure,
Okay.
and they want to increase exports. So for this they are working they want to develop their agriculture sector,
Okay.
and for this they are looking at China. They want to get Chinese experience to enhance their per acre yield.
Yes.
So they are looking for it, and actually for next year's cotton target, I've just read they have set 15 million bales.
Okay.
So this is a good thing. I think all these measures will boost Pakistan's earning, and Pakistan will be in a position, I think in next 2 or 3 years, so we will be on.
And we see CPEC is entirely compatible.
Yeah.
Agriculture became an important part of the bilateral.
And Pakistan is also talking to Chinese counterpart. They should, buy more products from Pakistan because now the trade balance is heavily in favor of China.
Yes.
So we are asking our Chinese friends, so they should have the similar agreement which they have with the South American countries like Brazil,
Okay.
Argentina, and Chile. They are buying even the fruits, everything from there. So why not Pakistan?
Okay,
We
so
have a lot of agriculture produce, we have dairy farming, we have meat and, livestock.
Yeah.
So this we can easily, export. And China,
And the geographical advantage actually to the western parts of China. Mr. Chen, how do you think Pakistan can come out of this?
I believe now the problem is quite serious. It may also deteriorate. But I believe the Pakistani government, the Pakistani people have enough wisdom to solve the problem. Here I would like to quote Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping once said, development is of overriding importance. Only by persisting in development, we could solve all the problems. So development is the real thing. Only with the development, with the construction of CPEC, Pakistan can finally solve these problems. This is a good decision is to control import. After half a year, the policy will be also changed.
Pakistan is importing non-essential items.
The impact on the Chinese side is almost nothing.
You are watching the Belt and Road Face to Face. We are moving to the second part of our program, Figure. Pakistan's business recorder reported on October 17th that the Federal Board of Revenue had previously issued a notification to impose regulatory duties on the import of 570 goods. So, Mr. Aman, what is the reason behind this decision to impose duties?
Obviously, to cut down the imports, because Pakistan is importing non-essential items, and that the trade imbalance is like $2 billion per month. So we want to cut it down, and I think it's a good measure. And as you said, like 5% to 90%. So usually 5 to 10% for the essential items, and the 70, 80, 90% on the luxurious items like SUVs and the cars over 2,000 cc.
Also cheese.
Yeah, cheese and
Is it
honey and all these things which
Yeah.
which
we can produce
survive
locally.
without all these
Yeah.
things. So I
Yeah.
think it's a good measure, and
Okay.
it's a good beginning, and we should cut down all these things. So when we have surplus money, we can
Then we
import
can
all
buy
these
more.
things. Yeah.
So, Mr. Chen, you look at Pakistan's current situation. What do you think about this kind of a policy?
I think this is a good decision because it's to control import because of the foreign currency reserve problem. But by the time, I think after half a year, the policy will be also changed to allow more imports.
But that depends on how successful this policy is in terms of improving the trade balance.
Yeah, I think you try to increase the export and restrict the import. This is we have to do that to solve the problem for the time being.
Yeah. So this is a policy Pakistan can control in a better way how much it imports. I mean, we can impose these kind of duties.
Actually,
What
these duties
Yes.
are imposed only to cut down non-essential items.
Yes.
Whatever is required for the export industry, like for textile industry, they will encourage, obviously. So we will have a value added. We can export a value added product, and we can earn more. But as far as these consumer items, consumer products, so I think it's a good measure.
It's a good measure. Yeah. But so this is the part that Pakistan can control better. We can gauge, okay, 570 goods, we put this kind of tariff, and fewer will be imported.
Yes.
What about the export? I mean, who controls that? Is it Pakistan or our partners, trading partners? How do we improve the export?
Actually, reason behind this was, the Pakistani currency was overvalued. And after this devaluation, now we are very competitive in the international market. And as you know, Pakistan's main export industry is the garment industry, the textile industry. Unfortunately, due to the power shortage, a lot of industry was shut down. And now, government is trying to give some incentives and to boost their earnings. And some measures are already taking place. Mr. Abdul Razak Dawood is a
Yes.
special assistant to the Prime Minister, and he's working on it. And I think in the coming years, Pakistan export, the textile industry will lead the Pakistan's export, and we have a potential to not double, so we can improve it by 20-25% in the coming year.
Okay, so this is a prediction.
Yeah.
Mr. Chin, you said maybe in 6 months we can change the policy. Possibly. So what could be the reason? You think that because Pakistan would be able to export more?
Once you will get new loans, then there will be help from your friendly countries. And third is you try to restrict the import and encourage export. Okay. I think the Chinese government also encourages companies to buy more things from Pakistan. So every time, almost in the history, you had this kind of problem, half a year, the problem will be solved.
That's interesting because usually defense is the main area of cooperation between Pakistan and China. Yeah. But the economy is so different, so important as well.
Now the focus is on economy,
Yes.
This present government now focus is on economy. Once, economy start get going, then everything, all the problems will be automatically solved,
So now here's the interesting thing. The list of goods that we have imposed a tariff or duty on is 570. How do you gauge this number? Is it high? Is it low? Is it...
Indeed, it's high, 570 items. It covers from small sims and textile products, yarn, cotton yarn, to motor vehicles and everything, the consumer items, makeup items and accessories and all these
Unnecessary.
things. Unnecessary. So but the bracket, they have put the essential items like 5%, 10%. There are different brackets. For instance, betel leaves and, betel nuts,
yes.
They are like 40% or 35% to discourage, people. So all these, unnecessary things, they have different brackets, different slabs, 5 to 90%. So different items.
And this will give a boost to the local local
also,
economy.
There are about 135 to 150 items which are not allowed to import.
Zero.
Yeah.
Okay. So
try to stop import.
Yeah. So maybe this is the necessity. And as we say, as you mentioned, 6 months, we can see this policy changing a little bit. So Mr. Chen, so the trade between Pakistan and China, we know that there is an imbalance and it is in favor of China. We are importing much more than we are exporting. So these tariff and duties, what impact will they have on China?
China, our bilateral trade, as I said last time, is very small. And our export to Pakistan is less than 1%, is less than 1% of our total export volume. So the impact on the Chinese side is almost nothing.
Nothing? Mr. Man, your experience, what
I
do you
think definitely China will have some impact of this regulatory duty because like 35 to 40% Pakistan import is from China. But the major import is on the essential items, not non-essential items, very few of them. So it will not create any hurdle. And as far as you said, Pakistan and Chinese government, they are working to improve, the trade. And Chinese, I have read somewhere the Chinese minister said we are going to import more from Pakistan.
Okay.
So I think if this happens, it will be in favor of Pakistan.
This is the understanding of CPEC that we need to propagate in Chinese, Pakistani as well as international media. Now we will go to the Vash News television and see what they are concerned about.
ए रेगुलेटरी ड्यूटी है पाकिस्तान एक्सपोर्ट बियो के चीनी चीज़ा चे असर कपी
Already have taken some measures like to cut down their imports and to make their house in order, to cut down their, the internal expenditures like Prime Minister is not living in the Prime Minister house, the governors and chief ministers. So this is a austerity drive.
Austerity measures.
So of course Pakistan is working on it and they want to save this money to utilize for education and better health care. So I think it will take some time and after a year or so we will be in a position to judge this government. So I think we should give them some time and then we see what measures they have taken.
There is so much in every word, in every article, in every poetry.
We have different kind of poetry in regional languages, not only in the national language.
We can overpass them and to become better.
But it's difficult sometimes to understand.
Yes. When they have some knowledge, then they will be loving.
You are watching the Belt and Road Face to Face. Let's enter the third part of our program, culture. Chinese classical poetry is a unique literary style. It has a special format and rhythm with a distinct beauty of expression. Please watch a short video.
古典诗词是以汉语言文言文为载体，以语言节奏的和谐性再现生活、抒情言志的语言艺术，寥寥数字就能描画出悠远的意境和浓烈的情感。中国古代的诗人们以诗绘景，以诗传情，以诗明志，以诗抒怀，创造出大批灿烂美妙的诗歌。随着时代更迭，古典诗词也在不同时期形成了不同的风格。唐诗雍容大气，宋词或豪迈或婉约，元曲诙谐，都具有自己独特的形式，也为后人研究古代的政治、民情、风俗、文化提供了重要的参考。
So Mr. Chen, we just watched this video on classical Chinese poetry. What is your feeling about classical poetry?
Me, myself, like very much, not only classical poetry, also ancient articles. When I read them, I really enjoy because there is so much in every word, in every article, in every poetry. And classical poetry is excellent cultural heritage in China. And when we, by studying the classical poetry, we can understand the ancient people's thought and also learn the noble sentiment. So only we learn the classical things, their thought, their sentiments, then we can overpass them and to become better.
I think poetry is, the writer express his feelings, in words, in language, and it's a love, love of nature or love of anything,
Maybe
he
mankind.
express, mankind or anything, so he express in words, so in Pakistan, we have different kind of poetry in regional languages, not only in the national language.
About 70 languages in Pakistan.
So we have, and the main influence in Pakistan is the Persian poetry because, we lived in the era where, you know, where the Persian...
rumor has it that your mother tongue is Persian as well, so you understand much more of the classical poetry than an average
that is a
Pakistani.
different, you know, like literally a language is something different. What we used to speak day to day is entirely different. I do understand most of them, but as far as, you know, if you go for the Urdu poetry, you know, and you know Urdu very well, but it's difficult sometimes to understand, you know.
Yes. But that also means one thing is that people don't understand. One is that the culture of enjoying it is slowly dying out. Is that a problem?
Yeah,
Mr.
of
Iman,
course.
what do you think?
Yeah, of course. This is a big problem, and I think we should work more on it. Like instead of reading, because now this reading habit is almost going. You know, we are not reading books. So
we read Twitter.
Yeah, we read Twitter, or we just
Weibo.
watch. You know.
Normally, one page of ancient Chinese language, if we translate it into modern language, it will be 2 or 3 pages. So every sentence means more.
So actually, when you describe it, it's not that beautiful.
Of course. Then, no, with kind of translation, I call it, then people try start to understand. When they have some knowledge, then they will love it.
And then they will enjoy it.
Yes, enjoy.
Okay. So what about this trend? What can, because I think that both of you agree, in China as well as in Pakistan, it seems that classical poetry is losing its initial place in society. So should we do something to curb this trend?
I think now people are more inclined watching movies and dramas, so I think this is the medium from where we can promote this, and it's easily to understand, and people watch, you know, interestingly, they spend some time watching all these sort of dramas and movies, so I think this is the good format.
Media
can be
mass. And what about you, Mr. Chan? How do you feel?
Because we also have we have classic poetry, and we have both of us will have this, you know, ancient heritage.
Yes.
So in this field, China, Pakistan can also have cooperation. Even China's Economic Net and Vash News can have cooperation. And if you would like to make programs, I have 2 friends. That is of 2 former ambassadors.
Wow.
One is Lo Sulin. I think the Pakistani people all know him.
I offer my services. I'll be there for that program.
Another is Zhang Chunjiang. Zhang Chunjiang is a little younger than Lo Sulin. These 2 have very good knowledge of Urdu. They can speak very fluent Urdu. They can also make poems. So
On the classical pattern.
Yes. So they can do it. Then if we get 2 Pakistani poets and we have 2 former ambassadors, we can sit here and make a program.
Yeah, about how to actually creating poetry that both the countries can relate with. Mr. Iman, how do you think we can
But
do
I
this?
think we should both people from both sides, and especially the Pakistanis, students or young people, those who can understand Chinese and they can speak Chinese.
Yes.
They should be called, and you know, the Chinese people, and they should make some program together. So I think that would be more interesting for the Chinese as well as for the Pakistani audience.
So we can learn a lot from this, and now we can also go and see what the Vash News Television is concerned about.
पाकिस्तान में क्लासिकल शायरी बाज मशहूर हैं। CEN और वश न्यूज़ को 6 बड़े मरागिशा यकदिगरे क्लासिकल और मॉडर्न शायरिया देमा बुर्त कना।
I think Pakistan and Chinese students or the people, those who can speak both the languages, they should conduct one program, and that should be shown on the Vash television and on the Chinese Economic Net. I think it will be good for, you know, to understand each other's culture and both participate, both from Chinese side and the Pakistani side. So
that can help us
yes.
Promote this culture.
Yes.
Mr. Chan.
I propose we should have more, you know, intermarriage. Pakistani boys marry Chinese girls,
Already
Chinese boys,
Pakistani boys are doing.
so they can produce a lot of babies, children, and there will be Chinese children in Pakistan. There will be Pakistani children in China, and starting from primary school, even kindergarten, they receive education of Chinese culture, and our babies receive education.
So we can ask China Economic Net and Vash News Television to do a program promoting marriage between Pakistani and Chinese. I think that's what we need, matrimonial. And we should also promote matrimonial relations. So with that, thank you, Mr. Chen, thank you, Mr. Aman, thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.